Here's a quick video to help with the class example sheet for section 1.8. This video only covers numbers 3 to 6, just to help out a little bit with this as a homework assignment. Let's do part A of number 1 together so you get the hang of it. What we're given here are two functions, u, we're given the graphs of two functions. So there's u's graph, and then we have v's graph over here. And we're being asked to determine a value, u of v of 4. Now, the idea is not to determine what the formula is for these functions, okay, and use formulas. The idea is to get the values off the graph. So let's start with the order of operations. It tells us to do what's inside parentheses first. So let's deal with v of 4 first, all right? So we look down here at the graph on v, and we find where 4 is. And I think we can see that the point 4, -1 is on this graph. So v of 4 must be -1. So I've circled the point here, and then up here we've figured out that v of 4 equals -1 from the graph. Alright, and then kind of color coding, so we can come over here where the problem is, and we can just replace v of 4 with -1. Alright, and now we just want to figure out what u of -1 is. So let's come to the graph for u. We can find where -1 is, and I think we can see that u of -1 is going to be 1, right? The output for u when x is -1 is 1. So we'll just finish the problem that way. And so we see from this point that our final answer is going to be 1. And we'll just put that up there. And this is how you want to do all these problems. You know, start with the inside part, the inside parentheses, and work your way out, and just use the graph to help you get the values. All right, let's take a look at, I guess number 4 is next. All I really want to say about number 4 is just, remind you about the area formula for a circle, that it's pi r squared. This, of course, is the formula you need to use for parts B and D. All right. Now, what you do in parts A and B when t equals 1.5, you're basically just going to mimic that in C and D, where you don't actually have a value for t, you're just going to do it for t. So when you get to C, you're going to have a formula for your radius in terms of t, right here, right? And then when you get to letter D, sorry, I just needed to correct my notation there. So when you get to letter D, then you're going to, have a formula for the area that's also should be in terms of t when you're done. All right, and you'll notice that it does involve, composition to get to that formula there. All right, let me say a little bit about number 5. I've already provided you with an example of what you're doing in number 5, as you can see. So you're just, trying to break this function down, which is a composition of two functions. You want to break it down into what we might call its inside function and its outside function. All right. I think the instructions are showing that it's f of g. Yes, h of x is equal to f of g of x. So what you're just trying to do is figure out what's g of x going to be. We call that the inside function. And then also what would f of x be? We call that the outside function. So you want to make sure that when you're done, that whatever you call the inside function, when you plug it into the outside function, you would end up with what you have in h. So you can see if you plug 2x plus 5 into f, you would just cube all that and you would have h. Now, as the instructions indicate, there's more than one answer here. Here's another way we could do it, right? If we let the inside function be 2x and then plug that into this function, you can see that you'd end up with just putting the 2x in place of the x, and you would still, end up with h of x. So make sure you get at least one breakdown for f and g, and then if you can see another one, maybe you could write another one in the margin. All right, but at least one. As far as number 6 goes, really just go ahead and use what I gave you for f and g to figure out what h would look like, right? So if you to get h is g of f of x, so replace f of x with x squared, so we're just trying to get g of x squared. And now plug x squared into g and get a formula that's just in terms of x. Alright, and once you have that, then determine what the domain is. Of course, you can base your domain analysis on what we've learned before about domain, and just write it down. Maybe what you get for the domain is not correct, but go ahead and write down what you think the domain is, alright? And then we'll talk about it in class. Okay, I hope this video is helpful and that you come back ready to talk about what you've done. Thanks a lot.